begin. So first, my name is Justin Gibson, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as Program Director for Diversity Outreach and Engagement for the UC Alumni Association and Foundation, as well as being a proud 2005 graduate from the Linder College of Business. And I would like to welcome you all to the UC LGBTQ Alumni Town Hall, virtual town hall. So we know that LGBTQ students on college campuses have historically faced challenges that are unique to their peers. And this goes beyond questions of how to pay for school and getting good grades. But LGBTQ students have faced harassment from peers, social isolation from friends and family, and even physical and sexual violence. And these stressors can contribute to anxiety and depression. And although acceptance has trended upwards, students still have a fear of being their authentic selves on campus. And so the purpose of this panel this afternoon is designed to introduce to just a few individuals who make up the support system for our students on campus. We want you to become very familiar with them so that we can all work together to make UC a destination campus where our LGBTQ students can learn, grow, and develop. So a couple things before we get started. First, this event is being recorded. When everyone comes in on the attendee side, everyone is muted, but you should still be able to hear and see our moderator and our panelists. If you have questions and or comments, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to the attendee questions towards the latter end of the panel. And with that being said, I don't want to talk too much. I want to introduce you to our moderator, and her name is Maggie Ibrahim Taney. She is the program director for the College of Arts and Sciences and the UC Libraries for the UC Alumni Association. With that, Maggie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Justin, and thank you to everyone who's joining us tonight and also our panelists for being here. As Justin shared, I am the program director for the College of Arts and Science and for the UC Library Systems. I am a part of the LGBTQ community at UC. I am a member of the UC Foundation Inclusion Collaborative, and I'm also an advisor for the UC chapter of Pi Beta Phi Fraternity for Women. I am so thrilled to be your moderator this evening for the discussion and would like to jump right in and turn it over to our panelists for them to introduce themselves and also share what they enjoy most about being a part of the Bearcat family. Mr. McGovern, would you like to begin?
Sure. My name is Donnie McGovern. I'm the director of what's known as the Center for Pathways Advising and Student Success. We provide central support to the advising community, and we serve as the central advisors for transfer and transitioning students. And what I love about UC is the people. It's a great place to work.
Thanks. Dr. Nolan, would you like to go next?
Sure. I have a teenager who's being loud in the background, so I apologize first and foremost for that. I'm Dr. Nolan. I am in the College of Medicine, and I came here just about a year ago from up north at Kent State University, and currently I also adjunct for the Northeastern Ohio Medical University. So what I also identify as a member of the LGBTQ community, and a lot of my research focuses on grief within the LGBTQ community, and I'm very passionate about the students here and the faculty and all the people here. I just love this area, so I'm very excited to be on the call today. Thank you.
Thanks. Dean Fairmay?
Yep, like Dr. Nolan, I came here just a little bit over a year ago. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. I guess my pronouns are he, him, his. I really came here because I liked the match between a university and a urban environment, and I think there's a lot that we can do here to be really for the city, as the original one of the purposes for this university in the last 100 years has been. So that's why I'm here.
And last but not least.
Hi, folks. Dr. Huang Guay. I serve as Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students at the University of Cincinnati. I'm also adjunct faculty in the College of Education. The reason I'm here, I love working at UC. I'm in year 4 now, about to finish up year 4. And it's really been a great experience. And I love the colleagues I get to work with, not only within the Division of Student Affairs, but on the academic affairs side as well.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Dean Fairmay, having studied and worked at many different universities, what are some of the common themes of an inclusion and safe culture for LGBTQ students that you've experienced in your career?
I mean, there's been an evolution, right? I mean, when I was in college, there wasn't a lot of safe space. It was very different. I mean, I'm talking like 1980s, and then I think with, I mean, unfortunately in some ways, but with AIDS, things kind of came out in the open, and it was a transformational time, and many universities started becoming much more aware of the need to support their LGBTQ people, students, faculty, staff, and I think, we're not there. There's still a lot of work that we need to do, but I think being outspoken and visible for some of us is really important. And as people see some of the progress, I think we can work together to make it better. And I know that there is still a lot of frustration, but I think we're at a juncture in time right now that is really a good opportunity for us to work in a lot of different areas, not only with our own communities, but also with other communities that have felt a sting to work together and get there. And I think we're poised to do something about it. And I know in our college we're ready. We've been working on some things, and we're going to be working more towards being more inclusive and more open about many of our sort of the system. We talk about systemic injustices. There are a lot of systemic injustices. We need to get there, and I think it takes all of us to participate. So I've seen real progress. The universities where I've been, I mean, I started at a very liberal, small college on the East Coast. But even then, when I was in college, it wasn't so easy. Moved to some big institutions like Indiana and Berkeley, and then Colorado, Northern Arizona, and now here. I've seen progress. I've seen, more comfort, even as there's still a lot of problems. And I think some of the problems also come from the juncture between universities and what is around them. And I think we need to do better at how we interact with our communities to make our communities as welcoming as some of the places where we can feel safe on university campuses, and admitting that on university campuses are still not safe completely.
Right. Does anybody else like to chime in before we? Okay. All right. Dean Guardia, as interim director of the LGBTQ Center, can you describe for us the purpose of the center and how it supports and advocates for LGBTQ students?
Sure, absolutely. So the LGBTQ Center here at UC really serves as a safe and affirming space for our students to identify with a variety of their sexual orientations and gender identities. Specifically, we have intersectional programming, safety, support services, and most importantly, the advocacy programs that our students are seeking out and so forth. It's a real privilege. This is my 5th university that I've worked at. 4 out of the 5 that I've worked at, including obviously UC, has had an LGBTQ center. So for our students to know that there is a safe space on campus where they can come, be their authentic selves, connect with faculty and staff, and do anything we can with regards to our resources and programming for our students, really is a gem for us here on campus.
Great. Dr. Nolan, as a professor and a practitioner, you have compiled ample research on health and wellness. How are some mental health challenges faced by many of the LGBTQ students, and how does it affect their ability to succeed at UC?
The easiest way that I could probably explain that is there's this concept called role strain. And when you have one strain, whether that be because you're a student or because you also work or you're a single parent, as those roles start to add up, there's more consistent strains with that. As we know, stigma can be a huge strain. Financial instability can be a huge strain. Just not having as much opportunity as perhaps some of your peers also is a strain. So when all of those add up, it can really impact the mental health and overall well-being of the students. And we see that in the way that they act. We see that in withdrawal. We see that in social isolation. We also see it sometimes in the grades. They're not as high academic performance as perhaps there could be because they might be constrained by some stigma or some type of homophobia or transphobia or what other is going on with that. So it can be a real serious problem.
Absolutely. Just a reminder to everyone who's joined us, you can put questions in the chat box. Justin is monitoring those, and like he said, we'll get to them at the end of the chat, so don't forget about that. So this is a question for everyone, and anyone can kind of start to jump in. What do you feel is your individual responsibility to our LGBTQ students at the University of Cincinnati? And like I said, anybody can kind of start and jump in.
Sure, I'll chime in. So I think in my role as the Dean of Students on campus and working specifically with the LGBTQ Center, my biggest aspect is being an advocate for our students' safety and welfare. I know when I think of my own personal experience, I wasn't out as an undergraduate at my alma mater because we didn't have an LGBTQ Center. There was like a Pride student club, and nobody knew when they met, and there really wasn't any flyers to that effect. It's a very different, that was over 25 years ago, back in the early 90s. Now, what I would say for my students is that I let the students know that I'm not only here as an advocate, I let them know what programs and services are, what can I do to advocate on their behalf. Is it something that they need within the Division of Student Affairs or connecting them with our colleagues over in academic affairs? So not only being an out individual within the community, but being out there for our students and letting them know and say, hey, these are some of the things that I can do to assist you. And if I that resource, I'll find a person to connect you with. So making sure that I get to know them better, get to know where they're at with regards to their transition, whether transitioning experiences during their collegiate years as well.
I can definitely relate to that in terms of my experience as well. Like when I wasn't really out in college and I came out later and there was a group, but again, like you said, we didn't know when they met, who was a part of it. But I think it's great that we have this center and we are able to send students there and help them. So I'm glad that there is definitely a transition there for sure.
Absolutely.
And if I could add next, I agree with everything that Dr. Guardia said. Personally, within my classrooms and just within, one-on-one with students, I do my best to try to facilitate conversations about identity. So we have these biases that I'd like to confront and talk about in an open, honest way within the classroom. And I like to create environments that are safe, that we can talk about different opinions and different ideas. I also want to challenge gender norms and I can never say that word, heteronormativity. Say that 3 times fast. I cannot. I like to do that in my classroom because a lot of people, they're just so used to the way that the society is. They're just so used to looking at someone and assuming, apologize for the dog, that if you're married, that you have an opposite sex spouse, or that you're not partnered, or a lot of times I get students that say, they have these biases about what a lesbian looks like or what a transgender person looks like. And I always try to challenge those ideas and try to challenge those opinions and get people that come in to talk to my students and talk to me and help me grow professionally too, because even though I identify as a member of the community and I'm versed in some of the issues of the community, I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly learning through my colleagues and my students. So I have lots of potential to grow, so I challenge my students as well to educate me.
I love that.
I was just going to say, I've been at UC since 2002, and the year that my husband and I moved here, there was Article 12 on the books in Cincinnati, for those of you who might remember that. which actually legalized the discrimination of LGBTQ people, and you could be, kicked out of your home or potentially fired from your job. And luckily that was overturned, but we entered into this environment, into the city very cautiously and worried about whether or not we would need to go back in the closet. And luckily, I work in academic advising, and academic advising historically has been a safe and nurturing place for LGBTQ people and students, and often serve as primary advocates for LGBTQ students. And so that's where I see my role here. As when I started again in 2002, there may have been 15 advisors on campus total. And now there's well over 140 advisors strong, continually working for LGBTQ students. And my role is in central advising professional development and training. And so we make sure to provide lots of opportunities for advisors to learn more about LGBTQ populations and to provide support and to understand supports exist at the university for students.
Great. Donnie, it looks like we might have lost your video.
Okay.
But we can still hear you okay.
Alrighty.
Dean Fairmay, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, as a dean of a college, I think the most important thing that I can do to ensure that our LGBTQ students is to ensure that we have policies in place and we have everybody in the college that actually follows those policies and follows those behaviors. I mean, we have things that are, inclusive, generally speaking, but we also have to ensure that the people who are sort of charged with these tasks actually respect them. I mean, so I think it's a transition that we're undergoing right now about how do we do that in a way like, again, Dr. Nolan was talking about, especially in the classroom. I mean, classrooms are very fraught spaces sometimes. And so making sure that our faculty know how to, in fact, have a classroom that is inclusive is really important. And I don't think that all of our faculty know it yet. So that's a process that we need to working on. And the same can be for the other spaces that, as a college we occupy. I mean, we have, we have offices, we have, advising groups. We need to make sure that people are trained. And interestingly enough, one of the things that we are working on right now is to come up with some kind of mandatory training for all of our members of the college with regards to inclusivity, whether it is, race, gender, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. So those are really important to me because I do think that that's how we make sure that our students.
Well, that kind of is a nice segue. Dean Guardia is, given the center, do they provide training resources, for allies and others who want to learn more about the LGBTQ community?
Absolutely. So one of the things that's one of the hallmarks of the center is that we do a variety of trainings. And so that includes our ally training. We have an activist and advocate training. But the two more popular ones that we provide, not only students, faculty, and staff, are our transgender inclusive training and also our safe zone training. Pre-COVID, we were at about 500 trainings this past year for 2019-2020. So we know that it's a popular aspect that not only students, faculty, and staff are looking for with regards to those training opportunities. And one of the things that we've actually implemented as well is that we've implemented a train-the-trainer model. And so when we've had participants go through the trainer that works in relation with the LGBTQ Center, they go under an additional training with us within the center, and then we branch that off, and then that actually makes it a little bit easier for us within the space to go around campus and do as many trainings as possible. So yes, absolutely, we do offer those.
That's great. I'm actually going to write that train the trainer down.
Yes,
something
please.
to keep in mind for our inclusive collaborative at the foundation.
Great.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Mr. McGovern, you are a thought leader on campus and as relates to student success. How can advising and other campus offices supplement the support that is given to our students?
Well, like I was alluding to before, advising is often sort of in a central position and can provide the resources for students when they need them the most. And we try to establish relationships with students where they feel they have a trusted advocate on campus. When they don't know where else to go, we can help them find what it is that they need or help advocate for them in some way. In our office, what I've noticed over the years is, over time, our collaborations with SALD and with other offices on campus have provided opportunities to learn more about student needs and to learn more about where the gaps are. And one example of this is our office oversees a student success system called Starfish. And, we've been running the system pretty successfully for a while, but what we didn't know was that the system, we were sort of learning the system at the same time. Through some Bearcat Promise initiatives, I was working with LGBTQ Center and discovered that, the system was pulling birth names of students versus the name that they may have given to the registrar's office. And so through those collaborations with LGBTQ Center, we were able to immediately put an end to that practice and tried, when that director was here, try to provide other opportunities for, fixing those kind of problems as they arise. But the other thing, as Juan was saying, we do provide opportunities and encourage all advisors. And I think most advisors on campus have attended some kind of safe zone training. We are often in an equity and inclusion conference every year. And beyond that, it's, continual professional development, all geared toward supporting all students, including LGBTQ students.
And do you feel sort of during this time when things are a little bit more virtual, do you guys feel like those trainings are being more asked for, or you have like a sort of an opportunity to use that platform to say like we can kind of, do some more professional development and things like that?
We certainly plan for a lot more professional development in the fall and the spring. And, one of the benefits of working from home, when you're on campus and there's an in-person, training or something going on and your day gets stacked and you have to walk across campus, so we often get a lot of no-shows. But what's interesting is actually through professional development online, we actually have the vast majority of advisors participating, and it's actually increased in terms of the number of participants that we have. So, this summer has been very much, sort of figuring things out, particularly trying to figure out how to do virtual orientations and all of that good stuff. But coming in the fall, we are definitely going to be providing a lot more virtual opportunities for these kind of conversations. And I definitely want to talk to Juan about how we can get into that train-the-trainer series, just like you said.
Yeah, the same goes for you, Dean Guardia. Do you see you guys doing more virtual trainings this fall? And
absolutely, I think that's going to be the direction we're going to be going into. Some of the requests that we've received from students is that they'd like to participate on those trainings, knowing that we have some that have literally said to us a majority of their classes this fall will be virtual. Some of them aren't going to be on campus, won't be on the main Clifton campus. They're actually going to stay at home and save some money by staying with family, but still taking their full course load virtually. So we anticipate doing more of those virtually this fall. So I'm really excited to see what that will look like as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm one of those people that maybe has signed up for something, then things get a little crazy. So I love that virtual option and you guys exploring that.
Yeah.
So Dean Vermey, there has been a call nationally for the general education of all college students to include equity and inclusion studies centered around issues of racism, sexism, homophobia, and others. What sort of is your college and or what the university in general has been working to provide coursework for students to learn more about these issues? I know you kind of were alluding to that a little bit. If you could expand a little bit more, that'd be great. Yeah,
so there's probably two parts to an answer here. One is there is a general education requirement, a body of knowledge requirement in DE&I that students have to take. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. one of the things that and in fact, it's come up recently because there's been a request from members of the student government for a review of that BOK requirement. Partly, and what is really interesting is we met with the students, and it aligned with what we are doing in the college. We just started this year. We actually just hired a new dean for inclusive excellence, even prior to the social unrest that happened. So we were already thinking in those terms. But one of the things that we have talked internally is that we want to review the courses in the college that actually qualify for the DE&I requirement, because there's a lot of courses that are sort of borderline, that have been added in for a variety of reasons. And we do feel, at least in our college, that some of them need a more proper vetting of the qualifications. And so this is something that we're doing more extensively. We will be doing more extensively, going through all of our courses to ensure that that's the case. But I come from a different perspective as well. I think that any course should actually be an opportunity to provide a different kind of perspective. And when people say to me, well, my courses don't lend themselves to discussing diversity, equity, and inclusion, I have issues with that, because my truth in some ways is that you can actually bring a perspective that is diverse and inclusive to any topic, regardless of whether it's the hard sciences, the social sciences, or the humanities. And so I think we need to go deeper. And this, I think, aligns with the issues that we see now in this country about systemic issues. If you think that you are not part of the problem, then you're going to continue to perpetuate systemic issues. So actually getting into the things that we consider are outside of DE&I and looking at them from the perspective of DE&I can actually really do much better for all of us in the long term. And so that's something that we'll be actively working on in the near future. But that's the most obvious example of where there is an opportunity for students to become not only acquainted, but really more thoughtful, more deeply thoughtful about these issues. So that's my double answer.
Dr. Nolan, is there anything you'd like to add sort of from the College of Medicine perspective, or sort of what maybe is happening over there as well?
Yeah, so what we try to focus on, similar things is what Dean Framray is saying. We're updating our policies. We just totally are redoing everything within the College of Medicine to be more inclusive. I'm encouraging all faculty to have their diversity and equity statements right smack dab in the front on their syllabi. Some of them hadn't had one previously. Another thing that we're doing is just creating pipelines and affiliations with other colleges. So UC just launched the LGBT studies minor. Some of our colleagues are doing that. We have excellent researchers. Some of our colleagues like Ashley Currier, Amy Lind, we just have some really incredible faculty here. So the College of Medicine is definitely creating relationships, and then just like I said, pipelines, so that students that if they are in women and gender studies, but they also want to get a public health requirement or some type of minor or major that we'd offer in the College of Medicine, to establish those pipelines there so that we can funnel those students and then have that be reciprocated backwards, just to create more inclusivity and then create obviously more collaboration. Because if there's one thing that universities across the United States and worldwide, there tend to be silos. So, and we can not only have silos within the classroom, but we can have silos within departments and across colleges and campuses. So we're doing everything that we can, little by little, step by step, to destroy or at least break down those silos to create more inclusive and equitable environments.
I see some head shaking, so I'm not sure if you guys want to add anything else into that. Just lots of agreements. Great. So this is actually Dr. Nolan and Mr. McGovern. You both co-chair the LGBTQ Faculty and Staff Association. Can you tell us more about what the group does, how it impacts students, as well as faculty and staff.
Rachel?
Sure, I'd be happy to go first.
Sure.
So this is my second year on the FSA. I'm going into my second year of the FSA. The first year I just joined it, I was the chair of the education committee. And what we did on that is we just tried to reach out with faculty, have lunch and learns. We had a book study specifically about creating equitable and inclusive classrooms, and talked about that. So this year as co-chair, a little bit different role, a little bit more responsibility. And what we do basically, as far as our role so far, is just try to respond to anything that comes up. We have some great, I guess, speechwriters, if you will, or people that can respond to things in an equitable, charitable way. We have some great people on the FSA as well that are thought leaders, as you've suggested. We teach faculty. We plan to do a whole much more outward activities this year, but unfortunately, no, right now because of COVID, a lot of the things that we planned were on hold. We had, we were going to invite a pretty well-known guest speaker to come in and talk campus-wide to faculty and students alike. So there's lots of opportunities for us to grow and continue this work, and we're very excited about it. And hopefully you'll be hearing a lot more from us as the future goes on. I will say that one of the most important things whenever you're addressing needs in the community is to do a community needs assessment. Just because the powers that be assume that we know what the needs are, that's not necessarily the case. And the LGBTQ FSA sent out a survey across UC to find out what the faculty and what everyone needed. And of course, we know that any efforts that occur at the top are going to trickle down to faculty, and then that will trickle down to students. So again, making sure that our faculty are educated, as Dean Ferme said, teaching how to create those equitable, inclusive classrooms, because as you mentioned, not many people know what that means even. Making sure that, we're celebrating pride, and that we're making sure that all faculty know that everyone has a right to express their own gender identity and have their gender pronouns affirmed, and all of that, which is exclusively important within the LGBTQ FSA. So from my standpoint, that's what we're aimed at, and that's where we're going.
And yeah, thank you, Rachel. And what I'll also add is, again, coming to UC and being one of the very only LGBTQ out people that I knew on campus, this provides a tremendous resource for networking and support just among colleagues. And what makes this particular group sort of unique is that this is bringing together faculty and staff. And so I very much appreciate the opportunity to work with faculty on a regular basis through this FSA. And it's still relatively new, so we're kind of figuring out, what our role is and what our voice is on campus. And one of the things that we have collectively said is, with the vacancy of the director in the LGBTQ Center, we sort of we feel a sense of responsibility to step up, and as Rachel said, speak out when there are things that are happening on campus where students need to hear a voice or need to hear from the FSA in coordination with Dr. Guardia, of course. And then we also have fun as an FSA. As Rachel said, we do celebrate Pride. And last year we had a really great show up of people to come and support UC in the Cincinnati Pride Parade. We had close to 200 people come from UC, which was a huge. It was chilling for me. Again, coming from a time when I didn't know anyone, to suddenly having 200 LGBTQ faculty and staff and allies there marching together, including my boss, including several of my coworkers and their children. And so I've seen, a lot of progress happen. As many of the speakers have said, we've got a long way to go, but there's been a lot of progress in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. I can say I felt very prideful at the parade, watching as a spectator, to see that huge group that came along, and just feeling a huge, immense pride for UC and for the community. And it kind of reminds you, like you said, like you're not alone, like there's, other people and like-minded. And so that's great. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, but what also keeps me humble, and I think Rachel will agree, is we do have several members of the FSA who don't feel comfortable being out and don't feel comfortable coming to a pride parade and don't feel supported even to do that. And so, I think that's part of our role too as an FSA to bring people together. And we do have social events when we are able to do that. We're thinking about ways we can do that virtually, and perhaps that might provide some anonymity for folks to come and to participate. And so. Hopefully we'll be able to provide that.
So actually you kind of spoke about this a little bit, and you said something about the new director. So one of the questions we did receive in the chat is, with hiring freezes in place, are there still plans to hire a new director of the center? And I'm not sure who might know about that. Okay, great.
Yep. Absolutely. So pre-COVID, we were literally in the midst of that search. And right before COVID hit, we were down to the 4 finalists. And then COVID hit, and then we were taken off campus. So one of the things that we've been really good about is we've had continuous conversations with those candidates. And so once the hiring freeze is lifted, we'll be able to follow up with those individuals and then do a virtual on campus with these individuals to continue the hiring process for the director of the LGBTQ Center. So rest assured, we will get a center in that. We will get a director in that space. I'm really excited about what he or she or they may bring to that campus, and specifically to the center. The things that we had noticed and that we were looking for with regards to the candidates were that they had a diversity of experiences, at whether it be at other colleges, universities, what their programming looked like. Was it intersectional in nature? Did it include a variety of sexual orientations and gender identity as part of their programming? So to me, that's something that we were really excited. We're continuously excited about. Our search includes myself, a faculty member, students, and so forth. So I know that once this hiring freeze is lifted, we'll get back on the ball with that.
Great to hear that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we actually have a student with us on the town hall. So this question is from Nem. As an RA, we have never had anyone from the LGBTQ Center or community present to us about education and inclusion for the community. Many RAs don't know anything about the center, so how can we improve this knowledge to better pass it on to students? Last year, our own community coordinators presented about it, and they are trained and educated in inclusion. As a gay person, I do not feel like it was adequate.
Sure. So that's really what we're bringing some of the staff with regards to the LGBTQ Center. Ideally, once we have the director in place, we have a graduate assistant that will start with us in about a few weeks from now in August. And my school will be more than happy to participate in being part of that training. That's actually part of residence education and development. So I am more than happy to connect with those folks over in Red and find out what are some of those additional needs, specifically not only for that student, but for any other LGBTQ identified students that would want to see more of that training be part of their curriculum. I know the RA training just kicked off this week, so I completely understand where the student is coming from.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm just taking some questions, so I'm looking at the chat. How are they going to specifically bring stability and support to students after years of instability at the LGBTQ plus center? I'm going into my 3rd year as a student, so another question from a student, and have not felt stability, especially because of the changing of directors every year.
So I'm in my 4th year here, and in my time here, there's been 2 directors. One that moved on in 2018, and then our last director that actually went out and left the field. And so that is an issue, absolutely. And so I know, looking at it from a student's perspective, that they want to see someone come on in and be here for a while. That was one of the pertinent questions that we had in the midst of our initial search that we've been doing this semester. We asked folks that were candidates to say, if this is an opportunity that's presented to you, how long do you envision yourself being here? And a majority of them said they would see themselves between 4 to 5 years. Ideally, if we can get them for 5, that would be great. But my biggest thing is, as long as students can see a director for the entire tenure of their collegiate career, fortunately, we've not in the midst of our search right now to make sure that we do have some stability in that space. Sometimes, if we have a program coordinator or a program manager, usually they'll get maybe their 2 to 3 years, and then they'll move on because obviously they want to move up and from the PC or PM level. But a director, you definitely want to have someone stay on there a little bit longer. And that's our goal when we bring in this next director.
Great. Is there any intersectional program being implemented?
That's our goal for this fall. So one of the things that I've actually had a conversation with, not only with the possible candidates, but some of the other folks that are coming on board, including our brand new graduate assistant, is to really talk about a little bit more about what that intersectional program looks like. Myself, when I'm thinking of my own intersecting identities, is something that I had a conversation with, not only with our past GA for the center, but also our new GA coming in as well, and talked about how our own personal experiences lend to our work that we do within that space. And so we're really excited to see what that's going to look like. We know it might be virtual, but want to making sure that we include that as part of our programming in the fall.
Great. Looks like there's a lot of questions coming in, which is great. So keep popping your questions in. So how are some ways with that alumni can help with this? How can we, I know there's probably a lot of alumni on the call, so how do we sort of help them? What are some things that we can give them, or some maybe key points, or how can they help you guys with the work that you're doing in general?
So I'll speak. I mean, because of my connections with development, and I do deal with a lot with alumni, I think one of the most important things for alumni is to feel that they're still part of the community. Sometimes, you graduate, you leave, you move on. But I think from the standpoint of the colleges and the university, it's important to make sure that you stay in touch. Because one of the things that I rely on alumni a lot, especially because I have an advisory board, and when I go around and talk with alumni, it's important to know who the alumni are out there that can in fact provide the advice that can help us make things better for our current students. And so creating those pipelines is really important. I will give you an example of something very different in terms of not necessarily the LGBTQ alumni, but alumni that have helped us in the past few months. We've had alumni actually join some of our task forces that we created following COVID, especially with regards to enrollment and retention. And they actually joined the task forces and started providing, they were making phone calls to students about, for example, many students felt that probably they wanted to drop out, not having the wherewithal to continue. And these alumni told them about their experience in similar situations and where they're now. And because they actually stayed involved, that they continued and persisted, they were able to get to where they are now. And so I think it's the same thing from my perspective, is to create for us a network of alumni that can then provide the resources for students who are here. We can pair them specifically with the students who might be most appropriate for them to converse, whether, it is a him, a her, a they. I mean, these are things that are really important because they provide a view for students, for current students, about who they can become and how their experience has modeled success moving into the future. So I really would like alumni to come back to us, to write us. I always tell alumni that I meet, you have my email now. You can find my email online. Just write to me, and we will create the pipeline and the conversation. So that's the way I see alumni being involved.
I know that the FSA in early spring, we had a conversation about potentially doing, and this hasn't firmed up in any way, but it was just an idea, that as we're continuing to grow and figure out who we are, that we would potentially provide some scholarship opportunities for students, and that we might do some fundraising as an FSA to help do that. And so we would love to partner with alumni in terms of providing those opportunities for students wherever we can.
And personally, I would just like to echo everyone's voices. So the most important thing is diversity. And if we want to hear those diverse voices from our alumni. One thing that's largely missing, whether it be at UC or even across campus, is the trans voice. And I'm hoping personally that we will definitely raise our trans brothers and sisters and family and folk, to have them have a louder voice on campus. You know, it would be awesome, I think, if we could get recruit some faculty, trans-identified faculty, and be very public and on the forefront of this. But you know, it's identifying those voices and helping to create those inclusive, safe spaces where people can feel that they can be authentically and themselves, and everybody is inclusive and accepting and respectful of that.
I'll piggyback off what Dr. Nolan just mentioned. I think having alumni let either prospective students or current students know that the center does exist, that there is an LGBTQ faculty staff association and so forth. Again, I know I shared this earlier. I didn't know, I didn't have this on my last campus. I mean, on my former campus, when I was a student back in the day. So knowing that the center exists, knowing that the individuals that are willing to work with our LGBTQ identified students, faculty, staff, student affairs administrators, and so forth, referring them to us, letting them know that we are here to support them in any way possible during their collegiate experience is really the best way that I think really letting those alumni know that we are here and dedicated for the students, and definitely to refer those students to us.
Great. Thank you guys so much. So this is actually a question for Dr. Nolan and Mr. McGovern. What is the overall sentiment of LGBTQ faculty and staff on campus, and what's their overall level of satisfaction? And you guys kind of alluded to the survey, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. Whoever wants to start. Or if somebody else wants to jump in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to start. So overall, the general perception is obviously that they appreciate that we're there. We're still very new, but that overall they want a lot more engagement and involvement from us. And a lot of the feedback that came back from us from that survey was that we needed to become more involved. We need to be more on the forefront of getting our voice out there. And then just, of course, reaching out. So we're trying to think of creative ways to reach out, because a lot of us get inundated, particularly now with COVID, with emails. So emails is not the best way to reach our FSA. So what are some alternative ways to reach out? You know, social media can only go so far. So there's things that we're trying to identify, and we welcome, you know, I'm not a creative person, so we welcome creative perspectives, and we welcome input from the alumni in that to help us. And if you're a person that's passionate about this or know how to reach out audiences, please let us know and come to us, because we obviously cannot, you know, it takes a village. We need help as much as possible.
Yeah, I'll echo what Rachel said. We often, you know, we try to get our name out there. We've tried to put, you know, we put flyers in HR for new employee orientations, and they sort of reference us. But it does get discouraging when we hear people say, I didn't even know it existed. But, you know, we're new and we're still figuring it out. One of the very, very fresh ideas that Rachel and I actually emailed about just last week was potentially creating a new employee orientation course through Canvas. That would be accessible to any LGBTQ identifying staff or faculty, just letting them know of the resources that exist on campus and letting them know about the FSA and our social media. We do try to get, we have, when, you know, in a pre-COVID environment, we were having monthly social gatherings at local watering holes or at coffee shops or things like that. But as Rachel said, we're looking for creative ideas and ways that are going to engage even more people. And it's, you know, we're all sort of figuring it out in the virtual environment, what that's going to look like.
Well, I personally want to say I would love to be your contact for the foundation. I'd love to be able to extend that to the foundation employees as well and staff and get them involved. And we should connect after this about that. Oh, I thought somebody else was going to say something.
Well, I actually can say something. You know, I think as much as we want to think that things are great, my experience with some of my LGBTQ faculty and staff has been a little bit more, you know, I mean, this is not a reflection on any of the initiatives, but there is a little bit of a sense of frustration. You know, there are some things that people think about and I've heard even the comment as we're just an afterthought in the administrative sort of machine. Right? I mean, we have these organizations, but are we really supporting them the way they need to be supported? Do we? I mean, and it's a fair question. And I just saw actually a question in the chat about, even the director position. Are we paying someone enough to actually be, wanting to stay? Because as Juan pointed out, right? We ask them how long are they going to stay. Ideally, you want someone to create stability. And so I think for faculty and staff, there is a little bit of a frustration right now that is shared, I would say, by a lot of other underrepresented groups, let's put it this way. And I think this is something that as an administrator, I see myself both in a position that is privileged to do something about it, but also I see myself in a position where people are asking me, what are you doing for us? And so trying to answer those questions is something that we need to do better in the upcoming years. And as I said at the beginning of my presentation, I think we have an opportunity here to really, the social unrest that is happening in this country, to me, is a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to sort of think about how do we redefine ourselves? How do we actually come out and say, yes, we want to be part of this bigger movement. We want to be transformational. We don't just want to go along. So I think that's really, things could be better. That's what I hear from some of the faculty and staff. And I think that's something, and the students probably voice some of the same concerns, but I think there is enthusiasm. I think people here want to do better. And I think there are other people, there are faculty who are on board and staff that are on board. And we need to leverage all of this energy to go better and do better. So and push. There's you can't sit in the background. We've learned some of that in the past. We need to know how to do it. That's really important. But at the same time, I think we need to do it and not stop at sort of surface impressions.
Absolutely. All right. So this is for Dr. Nolan. Being new to the UC community and a woman, what was a pleasant surprise you experienced when you arrived, and what did you find as needing to be addressed right away?
So the pleasant surprise was that there was an established community here. I came here not knowing anyone, not having any family, and right away I started making connections with people across campus. We have some excellent physicians here. We have some excellent practitioners in the public, and developing some close friends, and just knowing that there was a community here, albeit small. There is a very tight-knit community, which I am very proud to say. And a lot of what's happening here in Cincinnati hasn't happened where I've previously come from. You wouldn't see pride flags. I was just in downtown Cincinnati today, and there's pride flags, right at all over the city and everywhere. And that's not something that I would see where I came from. So there's those little things, and as a person that identifies in the community, I'm constantly looking for like the little equity sign or equality sign or rainbow flag, just to say, oh, okay, that's my person. I'm okay there. I'm safe there. And I noticed that there's a lot of that within the community. So that's a very positive thing. I will say that what surprised me were two things. And the one is I did not do my due diligence and realized that where I live is an area that seriously lacks diversity. So when I came to this area that I lived in, I expected it to be as accepting and as open as some of the other places that I've lived, and it is not the case. So this is new for me, kind of navigating an area that there's a lot of opinions that don't necessarily I agree with or agree with me. There's lots of signs and flags that don't necessarily represent my ideology, so that's new, and that's been an adjustment. And then from the students. So in my area, I have a lot of students that come to me and privately speak to me. And one of them was very candid and said, how do you feel being the only female with a bunch of old white men? And that really struck me as, wow, that's a student's opinion of the College of Medicine. And, you know, what can we do proactively? What can I do proactively as a female, as a gender sexual minority? What can I have my colleagues join me in to do to make sure that the opinions and what we're putting out to students also reflects who we are and our diverse opinions and our diverse ideology and beliefs within the College of Medicine. So good and bad, as with everything.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, was somebody going to say something? Sorry. So we just looking at the time. So looks like we have one more question. This is for everyone. So not all UC alumni are still in Cincinnati. So how can non-local alumni support the center, specifically given its instability and the fact that students are obviously feeling that? I know we talked a little bit about that, but just sort of, there any like final thoughts about how alumni can either local, non-local support the community? Anyone can start.
Sorry, I was jotting down some notes for it. So what I would say is have them contact me. I'm more than happy to engage in that conversation. So for example, what we've had to do with the LGBTQ Center in the midst of when we closed down campus in March on COVID was I let students know that they can continue communicating with the center. I'm running off the listserv. I'm answering the emails that are coming into the center, not only through the center, but I have students that are sending messages via Twitter as well. So I'm making sure that I'm answering as many questions as possible, not only from current students, but also from incoming students as well. Because I've gotten a variety of questions from incoming students and some of their parents and their families. So have them contact me. My biggest thing is I want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to support our students, not only in the midst of what's going on in society and locally, but also in the midst of what's been going on in this middle of this pandemic. So if there's any way that they would want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to engage in those conversations.
Anybody else would like to weigh in some final thoughts about how we can get support from our alumni even more?
Well, I think there's different ways. I mean, so, you know, typically when do we go to alumni? We go to alumni for, you know, both development purposes, right? Asking financial support and for advice and for also career information. I think, you know, so how can alumni that are far away support based on where they are in their lives? There's different forms of support that they can provide. Some of it is just in terms of mentoring, for example, you know, having achieved a status in life that maybe makes them feel, you know, that they have accomplished what they wanted, to come back and give back some mentoring. For some of it, some of the alumni, it's financial. I mean, I'm looking here, for example, at questions about money that is provided. Well, often we go to our alumni asking for support for positions and for augmentation of monies that we put into positions. That's another place that we can actually ask our alumni to participate. And then, you know, I think, and I was actually in the process of writing an answer to one of the questions in the chat that I saw. So I'll just bring it out. You know, I mean, advice, because, you know, if you're asking me, let me just see, I know Laura is asking a question about what does better mean? You know, this is a thing that I brought up. Well, I think the university needs to establish the baseline metrics for what it means to be supportive of LGBTQ students, staff, and faculty. Once those metrics are established, then we need to set a set of goals that we can then go after and try to achieve. So do I know what it means to be better? Well, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, if we can have better information in our classrooms about inclusive presentation of material, that is one place where we can do something. Can we do better in terms of public locations and how we use those public places for support of our diverse communities? Yes, I think so as well. So there's a lot, and you know, we need some kind of information. And so for alumni to provide information, for me, it's really important to hear, okay, what was your experience like? Well, you know, and if I give you some background about where we're now and where we were, where you were. What do you think about this? Is this sufficient? Based on your movement out in the world, what would you think would be a good metric for us to consider ourselves successful? I think one of the things that is really interesting is we think of academic spaces and urban and universities as places that are very advanced, and yet we're far behind some businesses in how we actually do good representation. So people who are in businesses that are supportive of our communities, those are the people I want to talk to, because I want to hear, okay, what is your business doing? What is your company doing that we can then replicate in the university? So that kind of support is really important.
Great. Any other last final thoughts before we kind of conclude the evening? Great. Well, thank you guys so much. I know, as we sort of said, this is the beginning of a conversation, but I just want to thank you so much for being with us this evening, and to our panelists. And I'd love to send it back to Justin to conclude the evening.
Thank you, Maggie, for stepping in and doing a fantastic job as the moderator for this evening's town hall event. Of course, thank you to our panelists for your willingness to chat with us and some of our alumni and students who are on here, and give your perceptions and your thoughts on the state of UC as it relates to LGBTQ students, and then answer some questions. In regards to the panelists, the attendees who are still on the call, this is the beginning of what is going to be something intentional and sustainable as it relates to our LGBTQ alumni. That's who I represent with the Alumni Association. One of the things that we are trying to do is look for individuals who want to partner with us to create a place in the Alumni Association for the LGBTQ community, which what would look like what we call an affinity network group, specifically designed to engage LGBTQ alumni to come back to their alma mater, to connect with each other, as well as to connect with students as they matriculate to graduation and ultimately into alumni life. So you're going to be hearing from me, immediately, well, in the next couple of days, in terms of a survey following this event, as well as some news and updates as far as what's going on campus with the Alumni Association, as well as a call to action, hoping that more and more of you will join us in what we're trying to do, and which is to create a place for our LGBTQ Bearcats, so they know that they are an important part of the UC ecosystem and family, because they absolutely are. So with that being said, again, thank you for participating. I apologize for all the questions that didn't get answered in my follow-up email. I will make sure that there will be a mechanism in there so that you'll know who to address those questions with after the event. Again, thank you, Maggie. Thank you, panelists, for your time. Wishing you all a very safe and healthy rest of the week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
you.